Welcome to the Suited Up Podcast, a podcast that dives into the real, raw stories of some of your favorite former collegiate and professional athletes as they tell their emotional and difficult transition from their athletic career into the business world. And I'm your host, Scott Radcliff. All right, welcome to the Suited Up Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Radcliff, and here today I've got my guest and actually guest host, Jay Pitts, because this is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to be getting interviewed by Jay to set off this first episode of the podcast. I'm a little bit, I'd say, nervous more than I would be on hosting side because I've kind of got to dive into my story. And there's times where it's probably going to get a bit emotional. I don't know how or if I'm ready to do that now that this is going to be out on maybe social media and out to the public. I think I'm more reserved when it comes to that.
Is this like Metallica's playing at Cardinal Stadium? It's like that 5 seconds before kickoff. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, exactly. We're kind of ramping up. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited for this whole podcast experience, but I'm nervous a bit for this episode particularly because this is where I've got to be a bit vulnerable, right?
Okay.
And kind of set the tone for my future guests and the listeners out there to kind of hear what this is about. So, but everybody, I want to introduce you to Jay Pitts. Jay Pitts is the broker owner of Remax Premier Properties, actually where I have my real estate license placed. He is the broker and owner where I work. He is the owner of the JT Pitts and Associates team. It's about, 30 agents now?
Actually 35.
35 agents.
36 this afternoon.
And before, I was actually, 2 and a half years ago, I was on Jay's team after being at somewhere else prior. And I was there for about 8-9 months and learned a ton from Jay. And then we were about 8 to 12 agents at that point. So
very small, man.
Yeah.
We went the double route, doubled every year for 4 years. It's been a good ride.
Well, I've been able to watch you grow your team and everything. It's been wonderful. And now that I've grown my team and I've got 5 associates, an admin. She's my right hand. She does everything. She's awesome, Jess. And then I've got an operations/marketing director, Denise. And so, yeah, I'm kind of doing a little bit what you got going on. And then Jay also, he's an investor in real estate. He is an investor in just business. He's an entrepreneur for sure. Always hustling. He's of course a husband and a father first. And he is a mentor of mine, I'd say, for sure. I mean, I look up to Jay and what he's done, and not just necessarily in the real estate field or the business world, but I mean, just the type of guy he is. He's the type of guy that you can ask, hey, can you host my podcast and give him only 16 hours of notice?
I'll show up.
And he'll be there. So, Jay, I appreciate it. And also a little bit sports background for Jay. He was a former collegiate baseball player at Bellarmine University where he was a catcher. And what else? I mean, you played football in high school too. What else? What was your athletic career like?
So, yeah, man. I mean, I was a 3-sport kid, all year round. Travel ball really wasn't a thing quite as much until I got into my teen years. I played for a fairly good organization out of Lexington, the Lexington Dixie Stars. We won the NBC World Series when I was 18. I got recruited late. Were you
always as tall and big as you are?
So I was. So I grew 9 inches between my freshman and sophomore year in high school, and so I was. It was probably for my mother trying to keep groceries in the fridge and pants on me that fit. I think she said she bought me jeans once a month that school year. But anyway, I started varsity football as a sophomore. It's a 3-year starter on both sides of the ball. Was a 3-year starter in baseball. I quit basketball after my freshman year. And wouldn't you figure, E-Town, my high school, Elizabethtown High School, wins a state championship in basketball my senior year. And it was the one sport I didn't play. And I was, and they were begging me, come on, we need another rebounder. But it wasn't my sport, man. Baseball was my sport. Football was a close second. I was an all-region tight end. I caught 40 passes for about 500 yards my senior year. So it was a good year.
Yeah.
It was a really good year. And, but baseball was my love. It really was. And, unfortunately I was a catcher and that did bad things to my body. Yeah. So, if you see me hobbling around the office, that's why. But it was a good time, man. But I got recruited late because I had some really good players in front of me. And at my position, so I was a DH as a sophomore and junior, and spot caught second games of doubleheaders. I didn't catch full time as a senior until a senior year. My best friend ended up going to UK on a full ride. He was runner up Mr. Baseball, played in the SEC. Great player, and we were a really good battery. We had a great staff, so I got showed off pretty well. I had offers late for bigger schools, but Bellarmine was in early, and I had a great opportunity there, and the rest is history. I met my wife there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it all worked out, right?
It all worked out.
That's right.
All worked out.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm actually gonna turn this over to you to be the host. I'll switch over to the guest side, but really, I mean, we're just gonna go back and forth and just kind of talk about our experiences and everything.
Yeah, dude. No, it's great. Obviously, I think people know you, people that will tune into this podcast as it grows. I'm sure that Scott mentioned being on my team. Scott had been in the real estate business 3 years before you joined my team, and in a lot of respects was beyond where he should have been in his business to join a team like mine. But he was humble, right? He wanted to learn, and I think will show throughout your success in this endeavor as well as it has in your other aspects of your life. But so I think people know that you were probably a wide receiver at the University of Louisville, right? The people that will tune into this podcast, the people that you sell houses to, the people that you're friends. But I guess before that, tell me what led to that, right? Because we're all a product of our history, right? So what led to that? What led to your love of football? What else did you do growing up? What was childhood like?
Yeah, I mean, childhood. I had a great childhood. I had a loving mom and dad, great brother and sister. It's easier to say now that we're older and out of the house, we're not living together and fighting with each other every day. But
I'm in the middle of that right now.
Oh, you are?
Well, I've got a 9, 4, and 2-year-old, and they are at each other's throats.
3.5, 1.5, and they're okay now. But
give it a few years.
Yeah.
Give it a few years.
So I imagine. So I had a great childhood upbringing. My whole life. I wasn't an A student, straight A student. I really focused and loved sports and just playing. Honestly, I mean, it's. We went out in the backyard. We played every single sport you could think of: golf, football, baseball, basketball. I mean, just always outside. And then I went on and I was able to play for Trinity High School, local high school team here. Juggernaut seems in most years. Although there's been some good teams here. Mail and St. X have definitely picked it up in recent years. But I was fortunate enough to be able to go to one of those high schools where I had a great coaching staff, and even grade school. I mean, I give a lot of credit to the coaches that I had growing up. They really did care, and as kids, you see that and know that.
Sure.
So went to high school, and I wasn't the position where you're a 5'9", 5'10" slot receiver that runs a 4.6, 4.7. Coaches aren't really knocking down your door and asking you to go play for them. So I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do a preferred walk-on at the University of Louisville. And I had a few other lower division offers. One at Dayton where my wife went. We were dating since sophomore year of high school, so it was actually kind of tough.
Dating at Dayton?
We were dating before Dayton, but it was kind of a tough decision because, do I take, play for Dayton where I can probably play?
Sure.
And be around my high school sweetheart.
So she's a year older?
So she's my age.
Your
so
age.
yeah,
Okay,
she already made the decision.
She had made the decision to go there.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And so I was still kind of deciding. So ultimately, I chose to take the route and go big or go home. And so I went to University of Louisville, where it is my home. And I had people telling me left and right, like, you're not going to make it. Like, you're just going to be on the bench. Or people just being silent about it and just saying good luck. But you can kind of tell there's like thinking exactly that. So my career kind of jump started pretty quickly. We go into camp, and I'm only there for maybe a month because I go in July. Camp starts in August. Nobody knows who I am. The coaching staff doesn't know who I am. And the first day of camp, Damian Copeland, also known as Honey Mustard, breaks the arch in his foot. And so they needed an extra body to go with the starters. And so I'm on the sideline most of the practice just watching. And there's a third down play that we're doing, and I get thrown into the scrimmage, and I catch a curl route for 12 yards, and it was for 10 yards for the first down. We got the first down. I dove and caught it, and the rest is kind of history. Kind of just after that, just kind of started to compound plays together. And if I didn't have that one play, that catch, I probably would have been a hitting dummy on scout team.
So for those non-U of L fans out there, Damian Copeland was Honey Mustard because he had the high fade with the top hair that was dyed like bright yellow.
And it was just right when their Honey Badger came out. You know,
right.
He got a lot of recognition for his hair.
Right.
So he was second to do it. So everyone
called him Honey Mustard.
Honey Mustard or Honey Badger. And he was a great player. He's a great friend of mine too.
Unreal.
And
unreal receiver.
For sure. Speed like crazy.
So question, and maybe I'll step back here in a minute, but this intrigues me, catches me at the moment. So obviously, shorter than the NFL would like, right? Or Division I major college would like in the wide receiver role. Not even as fast as some of the guys that were probably 6'3", 6'4", 215 pounds.
Yeah, close.
And they've got faster 40s, right? But you're a possession guy, right? You're get yards, great hands, get yards when you have to get them. What kind of? I mean, I've always wondered. Obviously, my body type's complete. I'm 6'4", 230 pounds. I've never done anything like nimble in my life. Every bit of my game and everything I ever did was big and power.
Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't even play Division I sports because I'm not big enough or strong enough to play any position. And even if I was, I wasn't fast enough. So what can you attribute like an undersized wide receiver's opportunities to like guys that went before you that we've all heard of, like possession guys in the NFL, like Wes Welker or some of those guys? Like it gotta have at least had some sort of impact. Obviously not your individual story, but at least people knew his name at that moment and what he was doing in the NFL. Is there anything that comes from that, you think?
I mean, I watched a lot of Wes Welker's career, right? And some of those other, you see like guys like Brandon Cooks. He's small. Yeah. I mean, Antonio Brown. He plays outside. He plays outside.
Danny Amendola. There's lots of those guys now.
And those guys are more possession receivers, which I was. Really, it's a lot of college and professional sports or playing receiver is being in the right spot at the right time when your quarterback expects you to be there. Like I wasn't getting. It's chemistry. I wasn't getting 5 yards of separation. I was getting half a yard. But I was where I was supposed to be. The ball was there, and I was going to catch it. And I probably wasn't going to take it 90 yards. I was probably going to catch it and get tackled, right? I mean, that's a first down, right?
And you keep the chains moving.
Exactly. So, and I think another reason why I played as well is, I was a technician in the film room, and I watched everything, and I studied everything from the smallest details. And my senior year, I was able to start. So I went from being a walk-on to a true freshman my very first year. Lettering all 4 years, and my senior year able to start. And the reason I think I got that starting position, I split time with one of the great like Eli Rogers slot receivers. And he played for in the NFL for a couple of years and did awesome. He had an injury, of course. That's kind of what happened. But I was able to do it because I was more of a coach on the field. I was able to kind of help the guys get in the right position sometimes, and remind them of certain checks and things. And so I was an extension of the coaching staff, and I think that. That's probably why I only had I don't know how many catches I had my senior year. It wasn't a ton.
It's incredibly valuable though.
Yeah, right. I mean, I wasn't a stat stuffer. I never was, but I had, at least I think I had value out there on the field more so than the stats.
You wouldn't have been out there. Wouldn't have been out there. I mean, in my obviously much lower level football career, it was much the same for me, right? Like my first cousin was our quarterback, and he our team, we were a good team. We went to the region finals, and we're not 4A. We didn't play like Trinity or any of those teams, but we had a shot to go to the playoffs and do really well a few years. And it's because we have very good skill positions. We didn't have any line,
Yeah.
I was a tight end. My much more physically gifted first cousin was our quarterback. He got recruited by Purdue when Drew Brees was there. Right. I mean, he had letters from everybody. Like, I mean, he's 6'4".
Meatown, too. I mean,
6'4",
Florida here.
6'4" from Meatown, 225 pounds, 4'8", 40, and could throw the ball 70 yards. I mean, like, he's going to get letters. And so, but, I mean, not a lot going on, right? I knew the assignments. I knew the plays. I was the coach on the field. From the tight end position is a position that you can do that from.
Sure.
And so I think you probably added a ton of value. I mean, the fact that you take time from a guy like Eli Rogers says something, right? And I don't know. I'm intrigued and fascinated by the character associated with somebody who is undersized, not quite as physically gifted as some, but still finds a place for themselves on the field.
I mean, it's football though. I mean, football is a mentally challenging game. I mean, it's a war. Like when those bullets are flying, I mean, you are out there and you just got to be prepared. I think I prepared every single day. So when the bullets were flying, I didn't have to think. It was just all second nature. My body, like the time, the internal clock in my mind knew, hey, I've got to break now. Yeah. Teddy just he dropped back. He says, he's got a 3-step drop with a hitch. And okay, he's probably done his 3 steps. There's the hitch. I got to break. Like, but you're not thinking about it. You're doing it.
So I was going to ask you that too. That was where I was going to go next. And I don't want to harp on this too much. But, obviously a guy like Wes Welker has Tom Brady throwing the ball to him. Yeah. Right. How much do you attribute your ability to succeed in those situations to the quarterback that you work with?
Oh, a ton. A ton. I mean, and also been
because Teddy was a technician.
For sure. Teddy knew, you watch, and it's something that's people don't ever think about, but it's priceless when it comes to pre-snap. Teddy pre-snap knew his checks 1 and 2 where he was going to go. He changed the line protection. Like he knew everything, and before the play even played out, he'd already played it in his head. That's the kind of he's also just a technician in the film room, and I got to give a ton of credit to my entire high school career and my college career because I had my guy Will Stein. Yeah, and talk about chemistry. Like when it was my freshman year, like there was a period of practice where we would do 7-on-7, but we would give the look of the scout team look. And I wasn't on scout, neither was Will. But for that period, we did go over and give the ones look. And I'll say it, and I hope there's some former players, teammates of mine that are listening. We tore them apart. We did, because there's no line in front of Will, and Will's a bit shorter, and he's a technician. He can throw the ball wherever, and he's got a good arm, and so we just tore him apart.
Tearing apart the
number one defense.
The 1Ds
with someone else's offense
with Scout CMO.
Yeah.
Okay.
So So I got to give a lot of credit to Will Stein, but of course everybody knows Teddy, and Teddy will also probably say, I mean, I know he will because I know the kind of guy he is. I guarantee you gives a ton of credit to Will and where Teddy is today because Will pushed him. Like Will, like he wasn't like Ham the backup. Like Will, he played. I mean, before Teddy got in. So
another undersized guy.
Yeah.
Right. Probably not quite as physically gifted, obviously, as Teddy. And it's all relative, right? I think we should probably say, right? Because we go from Teddy to Lamar, and you would say that Teddy is not as physically gifted as somebody like Lamar, obviously, who is.
Yep.
But just having that tactician's kind of mindset, I think brings you to a really cool place. So,
and since you brought up Teddy and Lamar, I've got to go into this. I was so wrong when people, I think U of L fans got so fat and happy with Teddy and our success, and we were getting ready to get new quarterbacks, and I said, listen, you all, Teddy's a once in a century type quarterback, like here at the University of Louisville. Like we're probably not going to have that for a long time. And lo and behold, here comes Lamar Jackson wins the Heisman. I'm like, well, I was wrong.
I mean, let's think about how fortunate we've been. I mean, coming off this past weekend, Lamar's jersey getting. I'm sure you were at the game, right? Just thinking about from Browning Nagel to Jeff Brom to, who was even next? Like Redmond, Ragone, LaFours, Brian Brom, like to Teddy, to Lamar. Like what?
Louisville's got a ton of top
right now to, our current quarterback right now in Malik Cunningham. Incredible.
Yeah. Incredible.
Like, how's that happen? And I would love to say in a few years ago, we would have counted ourselves as a national contender. Obviously things have changed a little bit. We could be back there in a short period of time, but to not be Alabama and have that roster of quarterback history is incredible.
It is.
And we didn't even talk about Johnny Unitas, which is, another lifetime ago, but still, anyway, Scott, you and I could talk
forever.
Football all day, man. So you mentioned something a bit ago that I want to go back to. Childhood. Yep. Okay. So you're in the yard like me every day. My first cousins, my brother, cracking heads and breaking arms and that kind of stuff. I'm sure playing all different kind of sports. What other sports did you play besides football?
Man, I played backyard. I played everything. But growing up, I mean, in grade school, I played everything. Soccer, you name it. So, but in high school, you're limited to time. And so I played football. I ran track. But before that, or in between those 2 seasons, I played volleyball. Played travel volleyball. And I contribute a lot of my athleticism to volleyball. I mean, you talk about what sport has the most athletes. I mean, I'm arguing volleyball.
Those guys are freaks.
I know basketball, you got freaks, but I mean, they're agile. They can control their body. They're 6'6" with a 44-inch vertical.
So I'll tell you a story real quick. And Bellarmine is Division I now, so I can call myself Division I athlete. I was not a Division I athlete. I was a Division II athlete. But Bellarmine's always had a pretty decent basketball program, and they played in the GLVC, which is the best D2 conference in the country. And obviously, Scotty Davenport and his success can show you some of that.
Yeah.
So we thought we were, really good. We were really fit, and we were really great. And then the basketball coach, we're in the winter, we're working out in the gym, and he challenges us to an athletic duel. So we pick our 5 fastest, and they pick their 5 fastest. We did what's called a minute drill.
Yeah.
5 up and backs on a college basketball court in under a minute. They had a 6'11" guy run it in 47 seconds. And our fastest, like second baseman, 5'6", very quick, ran it in 49.
Jeez.
We got smoked. We got wiped off the floor.
Yeah.
We hung our heads, and we never came back.
That's a tough loss.
This guy was a freak athletically. I mean, he was 6'11". He could snatch $1 off the top of the backboard. I mean, Nigerian, like just freak. But anyway, I was curious to hear what you thought you attribute. I've never been around men's volleyball.
Yeah.
So like that's like we didn't have that growing up.
Yeah.
I know it's a thing here. I know women's volleyball obviously is.
It's like high school football is
exactly.
Is
Assumption volleyball is like South Alabama football.
Yeah,
or Texas football.
Mercy the same way. I mean, there's some Sacred Heart. I mean, those high schools, and they combine with Kiva and all that. They're winning nationals every year. But we weren't. Men's wasn't like that. But I was a setter, so constantly having soft hands and eye-hand coordination and controlling your body in the air and all that contributing when the ball's in the air and you're get a defender on you and you're trying to twist your body around and get your hands to the ball. That's
incredible. I don't know. I mean, I've got a son who's an athletic, tall, lean, and I'm like,
get him into volleyball. Man, I'm telling you. It's like you hear about those athletes that did ballet, right?
Yeah.
Volleyball. I mean, because you can't land on the other side of the net. You've got to be able to jump, go vertical,
and not touch the net,
go horizontal at some point, land and not touch the net, not land on the other side.
Explosiveness, agility. I mean,
it's very quick.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. He obviously didn't get my genes or we wouldn't be talking like this. Okay. So, all right, let me, before we move on, give me an ultimate highlight athletic career. Ultimate highlight. Yeah.
The play. I'd say probably my ultimate highlight play had to have been, I mean, I had some, there was one play where I scored. Actually, at one point this is one of my big pride moments. I was at one point in time in history for only 15 minutes, the leading touchdown scorer and receiver in all of NCAA football.
Okay.
Because we played the first game of all of NCAA football. So
was that a Thursday night?
It was, I think,
opening week Thursday,
Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was a Thursday. And I catch the very first touchdown, and for like 15 minutes until I think Vic Anderson scored. And then the other game is behind started, and other teams started to play. I was the leading receiver and touchdown scorer of all of the NCAA. So that was pretty cool. But I'd say my biggest highlight had to be my first play of my entire career. So remember, I was a walk-on, and as a walk-on, you don't play, right? You redshirt. Well, we had some injuries, and so on the sideline. I was with the travel team the whole time, but I was never going to play. We're playing a home game against Southern Miss, and Scott Long scores, and I think it's still for the record, it might have been passed, but 96 or so yard touchdown pass. And it wasn't just like he catches it and he runs straight line. It was like he catches it, breaks the safety, runs to the right. Everyone's running downfield blocking. He runs to the left. He gets all the way into the end zone while everyone's just gassed. And I'm at this point, I'm still a fan of, I grew up a fan of the University of Louisville football. So I've just got front row seats. So I'm on the sideline. I'm going crazy as if I'm just one of those people who shouldn't be on the sideline just cheering. Yeah. And all of a sudden the coach's staff grabs me and they're like, Radcliff. And I'll probably say some cuss words on this podcast here and there, so forgive me, but they're like, get the fuck in there. And I was like, what? And so I'm like, a deer in the headlights. I run into the huddle, and because we're going for two, because we at this point we have to. It's the end of the third quarter. I don't know if we missed a field goal prior or what, but I get thrown in there. So I run into the huddle, and I'm standing next to like Doug Beaumont, and all of a sudden, he looks up. He tells me the story later. Adam Froman comes in the huddle, and he's just like looks up. And he's like, Scotty, what are you What are you doing here? And I was like smiling, cheek to cheek. I am just like super excited. And so I line up, and actually I line up in the wrong spot first, and then Doug kind of pushed me over. And then the play is it's a flood right. You hear like what's the Y2 banana split from some of those coaches or whatever in the NFL. So everybody goes right, and my job only is just to go left to hopefully grab the attention of a safety, to slow him down, to follow me, and of course I don't grab anybody's attention. So Froman rolls right, and for whatever reason I didn't see what happened, but he gets flooded back left. And he's trying to get around a DN. He looks up, and I'm standing there wide open. And he's just like, once again, his eyes are like, what are you doing out here, Scott? He throws me the ball. I'd kind of dive. I don't know if I had to dive, but I was making sure I cradled it with like my arms, my legs, my hands, everything. There's a picture of me, like I'm cradling it like a baby. And I caught it for two-point conversion. I celebrated like I just won the national championship. And my team did too. Like they were going nuts. They were as excited as I was. And we ended up winning the game a quarter later by 2 points.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So I got to break at the end of the game. I got to go in the middle of the huddle, give the speech for the team and break it down. And man, I was on a high for sure.
All the seniors are like, what is this?
They were laughing at me in the back. They were like, this little guy here.
That's all right. Yeah. It's got to happen for somebody. At least it wasn't like, I always wonder, like, when you take because I never played, obviously, that next level, how they always talk about how fast the game is at every level you change, right? And I just wonder, like, I could see the game pretty well at the high school level, right? Especially after 3 years, I was playing pretty well. I was very comfortable out there. I played every down of everything, every special team. I was one of those guys. And I just always wonder, like, if I'd have got an opportunity to play at the college level, would I have just been amazed at the athleticism? Which absolutely, I'm amazed when I watch the games today as an adult, as a spectator, and just the speed from the field.
Let me tell you one story real quick before we happen to something else, because you talk about the speed. I've got a story about that. My first play, when I got thrown into the scrimmage, we actually were on the game field scrimmaging, and I'm playing the slot. My job is to bypass the linebacker and go block the too high safety. And so I bypass the linebacker. I'm breaking down. I'm probably 10 yards on the field. The safety's probably sitting. He's no more than 13 yards. I mean, I'm about 2 to 3 yards away from this guy. Sure. And, I turn back around and kind of glance back what's going on because it's run play. And they hand the ball to Blau Powell, another U of L great and NFL great as well. Sure. And I look back and Blau, he just breaks through the line. So he's probably 9 yards away from me, and I'm 2 yards or so away from this safety. By the time I turn my head to go block the safety, him and the safety are down the sideline running after each other, and I'm 20 yards away from them both now. And all I did was turn my head, and I thought to myself, I said, I better pick this shit up because this pace it's incredibly fast. And so I can't even imagine, because I know the jump from high school to college is nuts.
The jump to the pros.
It's gotta be even. It's
like human weapons at that point, right?
Yeah.
6'5", 270, 440. I mean, bench press 500 pounds, squat 1,000 pounds, right?
In college, I had linebackers. I mean, I'd catch a ball and I'd start breaking it. I'd be in the open and I'd get chased down by Preston Brown, a middle linebacker. He chased me down. I mean, like when someone who is
another NFL
player. And so now you think probably go to the NFL, you're getting chased down at that point, probably defensive tackles. Like you're running a 4.6, you're going to get hawked down by someone who's 350 pounds.
Like, What was the D tackle that went like first round a couple years ago? You have to remind me.
What, Sheldon Rankins?
Sheldon Rankins.
He's killing it. I saw him the other day. He was here in Louisville.
Dude, I remember where we sit, at Cardinal Stadium, watching him blow up a blocker. Okay, and then the guy immediately to his left, so he's like maybe right D tackle on this whatever shift. Anyway, he blows up a blocker. The guy immediately, the ball goes the other side. Okay, He immediately hurdles, the man at his feet, and then from behind, before the running back crosses the line of scrimmage, runs him down.
Yeah,
forces a fumble. Okay, then hurdles the man he just forced the fumble on, like snatches the ball with a fist and walks into the end. I'm like, who is this dude?
That's why he's in the NFL.
That's why he's in the NFL, because he's a human machine, is what he is. So anyway, no, I said we would move on. I think we could talk sports all day, obviously. Loved hearing about, childhood and all that kind of stuff. Let's pivot a little bit. Good transition away from sports. We'll transition away from sports.
That's right.
Obviously, the best of us, we endeavor to play the child's game as long as we can. But inevitably, no matter how good you are, whether you're, Scott Radcliff or myself or Lamar Jackson, at some point, your career will be over. Yeah. You and I have been through that, obviously at different levels. You playing at a much higher level than me. But how was that transition for you? The culmination of spending your entire life devoted to something and then having it come to an end.
Yeah, I guess first off, I'll probably start with why I'm doing this podcast. I think it's important in this first episode. I think it's important for me to explain that and then kind of tell my story. So yeah, as you said, it's a big shift, and you can tell when we're talking about sports, we've got a lot of passion, we've got a lot of stories to tell. Yeah. But then you get to the nitty gritty of, what's life after sports and how is that transition? And, a big reason why I want to do this podcast is to get the awareness out there to a lot of people, the serious stories that people go through once it's over, right? I mean, it's, we can laugh and talk all day about the inside of sports itself, but when you start to, what's the mental and emotional state of when it's over? And it's abrupt. And so, my I'd say story is, it was tough. It was real tough. And, I have, as I told you before, I've got a loving family, friends here. I grew up here. I played here. Like, I had the support systems all set up, safety nets all around me. And, there are plenty of athletes, former teammates of mine that I know, friends of mine, brothers that I know. And this is not just football. This is, every sport, right? We're talking football because that's what we know. And you played baseball, and whether you're a swimmer, you run track, basketball, whether you're a male or female, it doesn't matter. You put your heart and soul, your blood, sweat, and tears, especially when you go to college and beyond. You put so much passion, emotion, dedication into it, and then it ends so quickly. So what I want from this podcast is, I don't know if this will become anything anytime soon, but at least I'll enjoy, I think, having conversations with people. And my hopes is that, one day or so that people will start listening to this that are current athletes, some people that are former athletes that are still going through the struggle, and know that emotionally and mentally, like, they're not alone, right? Luckily nowadays, there's a lot of talk about mental health in sports. Sure. I wish it was more so when I played. I really could have used a sports therapist. I'm not going to dive into that story now. Maybe on another podcast I will, in another episode. But it was difficult. So my story, one day, we talked about my childhood upbringing, getting to play at the University of Louisville, all that, and then my senior year, last game, we're playing the 2013 All-State Sugar Bowl. That setting goals, is what sports is all about, and driving to achieve them. And I got to play and win, one of University of Louisville's biggest games of all time. And
that was your very last football.
It was my very last football game. My very last play, I recovered the onside kick. So I came in with a 2-point conversion, left with an onside kick, ball in my hand, both my plays. So I can say that. And so to paint the picture for you all, though, imagine. So I'm on the highest of highs, right? We just won. We're celebrating. We're on Bourbon Street, right? And there's fans everywhere. We're not paying for a drink.
And you're done. You're done.
You ain't done. I don't have to wake up.
You don't have to wake up and go to practice.
At that point, I'm excited I'm done, right? At that point, I'm kind of excited. Yeah, I don't have to wake up.
For a minute.
Yeah, because they're... Yeah, so we wake up the next morning, and... Hungover, for sure. I was 21, 22 maybe. Yeah. And the plane lands in Louisville that morning. And I'll never forget, most people's phones went off and rang with a text message from the coaching staff, besides the seniors.
Yep.
The message was, hey, everybody, take today off. We'll meet tomorrow. We've got, this type of meeting or whatever or whatnot. And, the seniors didn't get the text. So you go from that highest highs to, we're like, well, what do we do? And the response is, you go get a job. You either go to the NFL or you go get a job. And I'm like, if it was so difficult for me, I didn't pursue the NFL. I contemplated it here and there. But my goal, my dream was really to play for the University of Louisville. I knew, could I have maybe gotten more fit faster or whatever, really put it, possibly, we'll never know. And I'm okay with not ever knowing.
Yeah.
But it was extremely difficult to just, it's
Turn it
gone.
off.
Like it's gone. Like and so I struggled with like an identity crisis. Like I knew who Scott Radcliff, the football player, was, but who's just Scott Radcliff.
Yeah.
Right. And it was, that part, I mean, this is where things kind of, get emotional. I told you, like, we can laugh all day about all this stuff, but like, and why I've also was nervous about this podcast specifically, because it's me.
This moment was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And it might happen here in a bit, and a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But it, my family and everything like that around me, and it still was so difficult for me. And I knew my career was ending.
Yeah.
Like I knew. And I can't imagine the people that tried for the NFL and didn't make it.
Right.
Or they did, or they got injured.
Sure.
Right. Or they did and they played, and then you had to retire. There are a lot of greats that struggle after they play their career and then they retire because of age, or that they're done with it mentally. And, nowadays you see some guys retire and come back.
Yeah.
Because, Jason Witten did it.
Yeah.
Of course, we know about Gronk and stuff, but they come back because that's all they know. It's all they know.
I can see that. And, and I think it goes without saying that, there could be people that his journey got cut short.
Yeah.
And it was even more abrupt, right? Mm-hmm. At least you had the benefit of knowing
True.
that for a month or so, I mean, you knew the end of that senior season was coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My brother, Zach, University of Louisville pitcher, got drafted twice, ended up in the, in the minor leagues. He played for a little while. He got kicked around back and forth and here and there and cut and picked up and traded. And there was a good year of 2 of his life trying to make his dream, a thing, and not knowing if he was going to be on a roster tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you watch Hard Knocks and you see those guys. What was it? What's the guy's name that comes around and what do they call the guy that cuts? Turk? Is it the Turk?
You're not going to believe me, but I don't watch Hard Knocks.
Well,
I would probably enjoy it, but I don't watch it. I mean, the guy that has the pink slip, he just hands it to you.
I think they call him the Turk.
Yeah.
Or at least that's one of the organizations called him the Turk. And it's like, if this guy shows up and asks for your playbook, you know what's up.
Yeah.
And so, but that's interesting. Like my experience at a much lower level it was like watching a slow train wreck. Like my senior year, every weekend, because, we play 4-game sets on the weekends, right? 2 doubleheaders. All right, that's 4 less games I got. And I knew I wasn't playing at the next level.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And some guys just tear an ACL.
That's it.
Break a leg.
Tomorrow.
They might be starting in the NFL. And their career ends because of an injury.
Yeah.
Break their neck. I mean,
it's crazy, man.
It is. And so it's
well, I love hearing the passion, about the topic. And I don't think it's something, let's just be honest. It's first world problems, right?
Yeah. Oh,
like
for
we
sure.
got to play a game that we loved. We got to devote our life to it. We got to be surrounded by family.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are very similar. I had a great childhood too. But what do you do with yourself?
Yeah. I mean,
how did you come up? Obviously you're in real estate now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You tried a few other things,
mm-hmm.
How'd that go?
I mean, once again, going into got to go find a job and stuff. I didn't know what I wanted to do. It was different, and not a lot of people understood. Like my family necessarily didn't understand. They're like, "Let's go get. What do you want to do? Go get a job. Go be this. Go do that." And it wasn't that easy for me to do. And it was. I struggled, and my family doesn't know some things. They vividly remember. Like I lived with my brother the year after I was done playing. And he doesn't know this, and most people don't, because I'm the type of person who puts on a happy face. I'm outgoing, that kind of thing, personable. I try to talk to people and just outgoing, like I said. So, I'm living with my brother. We're sharing the same house, his house, and there was times where I was at the lowest of my lows and like absolutely depressed, and didn't know who I was, and I would wake up, and he doesn't know this. Nobody. I don't think anybody knows this. I would wake up. Because I would, once again, revert back to what do I know? And I was like, maybe I should try and go to the NFL. I didn't need to do that. But I literally would wake up some mornings at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to Dupre Park, kind of around where I grew up, and I would just go run routes. In the morning, I'd train, and I'd come back, and I'd act like I was in bed. And then when we got up, I'd get up, and I'd, say hello. We'd have breakfast or whatever. He'd make his coffee. I wouldn't drink coffee at the time. And then I'd hop in the shower or whatever, and literally I would sit on the shower, on the bottom of the shower, and just like sob and cry. And like, I remember trying to go to bed at night.
Yeah.
I had to have the TV on. I had to turn on my phone's music.
Yeah.
Like because I couldn't be alone with my thoughts.
No
I couldn't, because when it was depressing. I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, who was I? Like, what was next? And like, this can't be life. It can't just be sports. It can't be that. It can't just be sports and that's all you care about. But it's like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's probably pretty short, for me to find my passion after sports in just 4 to 5 years is probably pretty probably faster than most.
So that's interesting, man. And I wonder, obviously you're going to have a lot of different people interested in hearing this podcast, but I think what's really cool about this, okay, is there are a lot of people, myself included. I mean, I played some sports, but I mean, never at the level that you're at. And certainly some of your friends and acquaintances and some folks that you probably are going to end up interviewing on this podcast, some very talented individuals. And, it's very easy to sit in those stands and look at those people out there that can do the things that you never could, and to put them on that pedestal. And that's okay, right? They deserve it for their talent, for their skill level, for their dedication. But to hear that someone who was out there doing those things finds it very difficult when it's over to do the very normal thing that everybody sitting in those stands wakes up and does every single day, I think would be humbling for those people to hear.
I mean, to that point is, and not to say that there are people that aren't athletes, don't think this way. Entrepreneurs, there's plenty of people that think this way, right? But as athletes, we thrive off goal setting, achievement, failure, right?
Competition.
I mean, all competition. Like, we fail all the time. We learn, we grow, we continue to move forward. We push and we push and we push. We have team settings. We've got structure. And when that's all gone, you're like, well, where can I find that? And unfortunately, one of the big reasons why I want this podcast to get out to a few people is because it can go a lot worse than the way my story went. I mean, I know former teammates that, they come from bad places, right? Yeah. Some places in Florida, some places in Georgia, like in California, and they didn't they may not have had the same support systems that I had. So, and they're not from Louisville, so they're here. Well, what do? Well, you revert back to what you know. And if you can't do football anymore, or you can't play basketball, or you can't swim anymore, or whatever it may be, you go back to what you know. And what you know is, in a lot of those cases, and I can speak upon this because I've heard all these stories, and there's some tragic stories, that they go back to some of these street corners. Yeah. And you think about it, they got out of an awful situation, right? Where there's, murders, there's just terrible situations,
drugs, crime, violence.
And they made it out to where they have free apparel, private jets. I mean, they've got it all. And then that day happens and they don't know what to do.
So they slide back.
And they try. They don't typically just go right back there. They don't. And I didn't run to my family immediately either. I struggled for a long time until I was like, I need some help. Yeah. And so if I struggled with it, I cannot imagine with someone else who didn't have that support system around them, what they're going. So I can never blame somebody for, having that go on. And a random story. I was in Miami the other day for a wedding, and because I was talking to somebody, a former athlete, how we think with athletes, it goes one of two ways. You don't stay complacent. Athletes are never complacent. So you either take your lessons and your teachings that you've learned, and you make something of it, and you build something from that, and you find passion somewhere, or you just revert back to a dark place and dark time that you never got rid of. And that's what this podcast to be. But I'm in Miami, and I'm at a wedding. And it's like 4 a.m. We go to a random 7-Eleven. Me and my buddy. He lives there in Miami, and we're in there, and this homeless guy comes up to me, and he asks us for some money, and some commotion was going on. It's 4 a.m. at a 7-Eleven. There's some commotion going on with the person behind the counter and someone else, and so we're kind of just staring, and I'm talking to this fellow who asked us for some money for a little bit, and he says he played football at Florida State, And I said, oh, yeah, really? What years you play? And he told me. And I said, oh, really? Because my receiver coach played that at Florida State, Coach Ron Dugans, the same time. And so I fact-checked him. And turns out he was real. He was the real deal. He was legit. And, you know, I'm going to tell a funny story first, but so we're talking and then we start just shooting the shit or whatever, you know, as athletes do. When you find another athlete, you get that passion. And so we know, no shit. It's like 4 a.m, in the middle of the downtown streets of Miami. And me and him, I'm running one-on-one routes against this dude who just asked me for $20. I'm wearing
absolutely no alcohol involved whatsoever.
None. No. And I'm wearing like my dress shoes. I'm still wearing my tie around. And, you know, I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. We had a blast. And you could tell there's that mutual like kid in us again that we had. And it was, you know, it was funny. But, you know, then you kind of take a step back and you kind of like, you know, I go back to my buddy's condo and I go fly home. And then I start kind of thinking, you know, like that guy played at Florida State. He was a national champion. And now he's asking me for $20 at a 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
You know, so it's if one person out of this listens to this podcast,
sure,
and can get something from it, that's what I'm trying to do with it, and in hopes that, you know, it can help.
No, I can see that. Man, I see that in my own experience. Truthfully, when my career was over, I made a serious departure, and I made a decent transition into the working world, right? And it wasn't seamless. It was good. It was okay, right? I didn't struggle to know what to do. I'm very fortunate to have, you know, family in the business that we're in a different place, and was given a lot of guidance growing up, right? My father gave me a lot of guidance in business and in life and in money making, you know, business building. And that probably reflected in my personality. My brother, it was because when I came of age, my father wasn't secure financially.
Yeah.
Okay. He had some setbacks. So that was what was top of mind for him. And I'm his oldest. And, you know, I probably had some natural propensity for it. I was an athlete too. I was very interested in my sports and very competitive and had all those same drive and that kind of stuff. But he focused on the work, is what he talked to me about. My brother, Division I athlete, professional athlete, Dad was more secure, right? So he got to invest himself in his second son in slightly more frivolous means, right? Like sports, because when you don't know where your mortgage payment's coming from, you're not talking about driving your kid halfway around the country to go to a tryout to like see about getting seen by some scouts, right? Yeah. So, but when I got done playing, I knew where I was headed, but physically,
you had to struggle still.
There was a struggle, man. I didn't want to see anything athletic.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I gained like 50 pounds, right? I weighed probably 30 pounds more than I do now, right? At a very young age where I should have been capable of maintaining my body and my health, but I didn't. I ate like a guy that was working out twice a day.
Yeah, and you weren't anymore.
And I wasn't working out. I was working out 0 times a day. Yeah. And I wanted nothing to do with anything. I drank too much alcohol. I ate bad foods. And that probably went on for 5 years. And so one day I woke up and I was disgusted with myself. So like typical athletes do, you'll appreciate this. I decided that was the day I woke up hungover on a Sunday morning after going out and having too much fun with my friends and eating like a heathen. Yeah. And I decided to run a marathon, 26.2 miles, a guy with broken knees, 50 pounds overweight. That was the day I decided in my hungover shame.
Did you do it?
I did.
Wow.
I did.
How sore were you?
I didn't run it that day.
Okay.
Oh, come on, bro.
I'm like, man.
I would have died.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, I decided that I would run a marathon.
Yeah.
That's when I decided.
Okay.
Damn, you're giving me way too much credit.
I mean, I thought you were a freak or something. I don't know.
Not a freak at all. But no, I decided that day and I went out for a 2-mile run. Yeah. It hungover or not.
Yeah.
And I sat down and made a plan, man. And 6 months later, I ran a marathon. 6 months.
Yeah, that's quick.
But for a guy that was currently 255 pounds,
you're not like me. Your body. You're not.
I'm a big lumbering. Kind of. I'm not a marathon runner.
Yeah.
And I broke, like I said, literally broken knees, multiple surgeries, like no meniscus, no cartilage, torn ligaments, like the whole nine, right?
Yeah.
But that's what athletes do.
Yeah.
You're all in. or you're
or you're
all
not.
out.
It's it. You're 100% right. That's how I've been my whole life. I feel like that's all athletes are, and that's why you also see a lot of athletes that will revert to like working out a bunch, and they'll still stay fit, or they won't. There's really not too much in between, but you also a lot of people that were in the sports world, they're personal trainers now. I mean, a lot of my former players are personal trainers because, once again, what do you know? You start thinking, I almost became one. I started looking before real estate. I was like, what do I want to do?
I want to own a business.
That was it. And luckily,
dude,
I didn't do that. But
well, you're doing pretty well for yourself. And I'm in a position to speak to that. Well, did you see Mike Tyson lately?
No.
Mike Tyson's about to have another fight. Is he fighting Logan Paul? Logan Paul, I think.
Oh God,
dude, he's gonna murder Logan Paul.
That guy's
you
face
need
is
to,
disappear.
if you're listening to this podcast, you need to pull up Mike Tyson videos. Okay, so he bought a ranch.
How old is he?
Late 50s. Yeah. Okay, so Tyson legit bought a ranch in the desert in Nevada, and he has a weed ranch. I'm not joking.
Yeah,
not joking. And he gained like a whole bunch of weight. He was like, you pull him up on Rogan. He did a Joe Rogan podcast where he was fat.
Yeah,
like big. And
but now what did he look like?
Shredded.
All or nothing.
Like he was 20 years old, and his hand speed on the back, like you're like,
yeah,
dude's a problem. Like he is going to murder Logan Paul. If that's who he's fighting. I can't remember which Paul. Jake or Logan, one of the two.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I hope I'm right about that. I don't want to make it look stupid, but he's all in.
Yeah.
Or he's all out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's I don't know how to segue off of that, Scott. Dude, I mean, so you struggled.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you got an action. Okay. And it may not have been perfect at first, but you were moving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what brought you out of the funk? Right?
Yeah. I mean, so to talk about the funk real quick is, I got done. I was working a job I didn't like, a desk job. I was drinking too much. I was out with friends. That's the only thing I could revert back to. My friends, and we'd go to 4th Street. For like a few months, how I paid my bills was playing in beer pong tournaments, trying to win those. But it hurt relationships. I mean, I remember I said I dated my wife since high school, and when she got back from Dayton, I had just ended my career, and I was struggling. And how do you love someone when you don't love yourself, right? I mean, how do you give somebody your all when you can't give yourself your all? Yeah, you don't know who you don't. How can I be that person for her when I don't know who I am? And so we struggled, right? And so we broke up for a bit until I was kind of like, get your shit together. Yeah. And so I started to move forward. I left that job. I was coaching, which was very helpful mentally for me. That's probably one of the biggest things that saved me.
At Trinity?
No, actually Emmanuel.
Oh, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I got another side of JCPS that I never knew about and
cool.
saw. It was awesome. I had some amazing players that I got to coach. I coached the receivers there. Emmanuel's a great school, and there was a lot of great people there and players there. But that probably saved me mentally, is having somewhat of a grasp onto the sport still for the first 2 years I was done. But still struggled tremendously. But I was moving forward, and that was okay. So I went from one job where I was making a decent amount of money, but I was sitting behind a desk, hated, to selling digital marketing, going business to business, hearing no left and right. Like, hey, can I get a 15-minute meeting? And no, I don't know who you are. Please leave. I'll call the cops. That kind of thing, which taught me a lot in sales and how to talk to people and
sales resistance.
Yeah, it taught me a lot. So I definitely learned a lot from it. But I left that company because they were basically lying to me and my clients. So I left there, and then I went to fitness equipment sales and a treadmill medic and fitness market. Shout out to them; they're amazing. If you need any fitness equipment, if you own a gym, commercial or whatnot, residential, they've got it all.
They got some legit stuff.
They do, and they're great people. It's family owned by the Wider family. Reach out whenever you go and walk in there. Ask for my guy Tim Hartledge. He's amazing. He's my manager. He's a good friend of mine. But I was there, and I just didn't have passion for it. So once again, all in, all out, and I was probably going to get fired at some point here soon because I just couldn't give the effort that they wanted me to have. Because I can't half-ass anything. It was just it wasn't there. So it was one day Tim and I went to Nashville and for a football coaches convention to sell some equipment to their high schools and stuff. And Tim stayed because his family was going to meet him there. He's going to stay there for a weekend or whatever. So I drove the little Prius back, the company Prius back. And I just remember thinking, like, there's got to be more to life than this. Yeah. There has to be. And throughout me running all these scenarios in my head, I landed on real estate. My grandmother was a longtime real estate agent. I knew a few people, Sam Roby and Rick Roby in the business. So I reached out to Sam and I reached out to some other people and I had conversations. And everyone's biggest worry is it's 100% commission, right? Yeah. But I've always looked at something and said, if I like it, I'm going to give it my all. And if my back's against the wall, I'm not going to crumble and fall down. I'm going to start punching and fighting and move forward. And if someone else can make an entire career out of real estate, why can't I? Yeah. I'm going to bet on myself every single time when I'm giving my all. I will bet on myself every single time. And that's the mentality I took into it. Yeah. And it's done well since. And that what it did was, Jay, it helped fill that void, that passion void that I think everyone, when they're done, was looking for. Even it's not even athletes. I mean, right? Everyone in life is looking for that passion, but those athletes have had that passion, so they know the feeling. How do you get? And it's not full, right? It's not what it's ever going to be sometimes, but I was able to at least fill a lot of that void through passion in real estate, and I think hopefully my clients see that as well, and my team sees that I run and operate now, and it was a big shift in my entire life.
Well, I think there's something very much about that athletic mindset. I mean, you don't have to be an athlete to love competition, right? I mean, you can be a
musician.
You can be a chess player. Anything that requires perfection, right? Or the pursuit of perfection breeds this competitive spirit, right? And it has to be filled. You won't be happy if that's part of you and it's not fulfilled. Yeah. That's a great thing about real estate. I talk about my dad a lot, man, but he used to say, the thing about real estate is everybody knows how much money you're making because it's not that hard to figure out how much you sold. And 3% of that is probably what you brought in. And he said, but it's never about the money. We talk about it all the time. My wife and I first got together. She's from a background of people that work jobs their whole life. And as you know, she's in business with me now.
Of course.
Yeah. And so there's been a mindset shift, but she was always put off when we were dating, for all of college. We started dating. She was a sophomore. I was a freshman. So we were together a long time before we got married, and she was around my family, and she was always put off by the fact that we would always seem to talk about money. But it was a function of your success and what you do. And Dad used to say, it's not about the money. It's just the scoreboard.
Yeah.
There's so many analogies that go back and forth between real estate and sports. So, Scott, it's not surprising to hear that you landed on it, okay, because it is something that I think athletes tend to gravitate towards. You may not know why in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then once you get into it, you realize, oh, wait a minute.
It's eat what you kill.
The
harder I work, the more I can create, the more people I can help. Right.
The better life I can live.
Absolutely.
The better my family can, live life. And when it's rooted in helping people, that really gets you.
It does.
Because you see the impact.
It does.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah. I mean, and as an athlete, you go from, going to hospitals and helping kids and, doing little camps and stuff like that. And you get that feeling of, that the feel good of helping someone. And in real estate, it's got that as well. I mean, some of the stories that you help people on are great. It's not just HGTV stuff. So,
well, in sports, there's always another dragon to slay, right? And so but a lot of industries you get into, you run up against the ceiling even when you are self-employed. But real estate, there's always seems to be something next, isn't there?
Constant change,
right? So you were an agent first, and then you joined my team, and I think it's fair to say that you joined my team because you wanted to see how that organization like that was run,
for sure,
with the intention and ambition to run a similar organization yourself, right? And so now it's just like, okay, how big can we make this thing? How big do we want it to be?
Yeah. I mean, and we're taking it one step at a time. I mean, now it's just, making sure my focus is on not necessarily growing, but growing because we have to for our clients. And that's why I grew in the first place. I mean, I got so busy humbly saying, with so much business that I couldn't be the best option for everybody, but it wasn't me passing to someone else. It was me training and educating someone else so that they could be an extension of myself and they could also help along the way. So yeah, Jay, I guess, we've been talking for a bit. I want to wrap things up, be courteous to our listeners, but I always want to end the segments with one piece of advice. I'll give one, and since you're the co-host as well, I want you to give one, but it's one piece of advice to a current athlete and one to a former athlete. And I'll go first to give you a little bit of an insight. So the advice I'd give to a current athlete is going to be network. And then the other piece is to have a plan. I didn't have a plan, and your plan may change, but when that day ends and you land that plane to whatever city your team plays in, or you get injured, there's at least somewhere to start. And for the former athletes that are currently looking for something, reach out to your support system, reach out to your teammates, you're not alone. You're gonna find passion at some point. You just gotta give something your all, right? As we said, it's easy to go the other way and just to go back to what you know, but it's difficult to go the other way, where the unknown. But the unknown is what you need. It's where you need to go.
Yeah. So a current and a former.
Yeah.
Okay. This might be a little abstract, but I'd say a current athlete, and this might even apply to just young people in general, right? But athletes for sure. I would say to look at your coaches. Okay. And if you're not an athlete, then the adults in your life, the professors, whomever you look up to, whoever your mentor is, whoever's guiding you, look at them and see them as people. Okay. It's very easy, to lose sight, especially in athletics, right? You coach. I mean, we talked about earlier, the F-bomb comes out. I mean, the huddle, like, I don't think anybody listening to this podcast would be surprised to hear that kind of language goes on a football sideline.
Right.
But those coaches, they're individuals. They're people. They're full of emotions. They're full of desires, wants, needs, all those things. They happen to have a lot of experience at the thing that you're trying to learn at that moment. But they're people. They're not perfect.
Yep.
And if you understand them as people, then you can understand where they're coming from and why they're asking you to do the things that you're asking. I find this a lot in parenting. Okay. You got young ones.
Yep.
I've got one that's gotten to 9 and we've gotten to the sass.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We got a lot of back talk. So parenting, like I reflect back upon my experiences with coaches a lot when I think about parenting. So that just to see them as people.
Yeah.
Okay. And a former athlete, if you're just get in action.
Yeah.
I'm pointing this towards like a career transition, probably that a lot of you are going through, but just start.
Yeah.
Start and, use the tools you have available, and better tools will present themselves. You can't learn. I think a lot of the mistakes we have, especially people with success, athletes would be included in this, somebody who achieved at a high level. And I see them get into the industry all the time, Scott.
Yeah.
And you have too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they scuffle and they don't have success. And I think a lot of times you think that success in one avenue of your life either predicts or grants you success in another, and it's supposed to come easier than it is. Just start. You're not above it.
Yep.
The same things that made you a successful athlete is what's going to make you a successful financial planner, real estate agent, business owner.
That's to that point. I want to go back to the former athletes, what you just said there. Go back to what you know, what you were taught: discipline, hard work, goal setting, achievement, knowing there's going to be failure and it's okay. Learn from the failures. Like, you go back to those core values. We talk about that in business as well. You go back to those core values that you were taught as an athlete, and you just remember, hey, if I just, whenever in my life, I worked hard and I was disciplined, I was consistent, things always panned out. And it might take a few years, which we don't want to see.
It's great words,
but I think that's
consistency, discipline is the difference between good and great.
I think consistency is on that though. I think discipline and they're kind of go side by side. Because I mean, you see those athletes that are like hurrah one day, but when they don't feel good one day, they might just kind of slack in the back. You got to go every day, to be at the top. So, Well, Jay, hey, I appreciate you being here and
Absolutely.
kind of going back and forth with me, being my guest host, and being on the first episode of Suited Up. Yeah, man. And so to all my listeners, I really appreciate you here. I don't know how many listeners we'll have. Hopefully one day it continues to grow. But I appreciate you all for tuning in, and hopefully you've enjoyed some of our stories. I'd like to thank all of you listeners for tuning in. Please click the subscribe button to continue hearing the inside stories of your favorite athletes. And I always love feedback, so leave a review or a comment to let us know what you're thinking about the show. Once again, thank you all for listening. Until next time, I'm Scott Radcliff, your host of Suited Up.